All right, so we have Liana Steir, Director of Talent Management at Axios. Liana is an HR leader at Axios who describes her role as working to make this the best job her colleagues have ever had. She launched her career with stints in the nonprofit and startup world, where she discovered the importance and impact of the employee experience. Mindful and inspired by diversity, equity, and inclusion practices, Liana aims to build work environments where employees' voices are valued and heard as companies scale. And she will be joined in conversation by Virginia, who is a part of the Power to Fly talent acquisition team. So I'll pass the mic to you all, and thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Buenos días a todos los hispanohablantes. My name is Virginia, and thanks so much for the introduction. My pronouns are she, hers, and ella. And I am so excited to talk to this remarkable woman in tech, Liana. So why don't we go ahead and get started? Liana, besides that amazing introduction, I'm sure there is a lot more to you. So let's go ahead and start by having you tell us a little bit about yourself, a little more, where you're based, and give us an insight into your career journey.
Well, let me start off by just thanking Power to Fly. Thank you, Virginia, for having me today. I started out my partnership with Power to Fly earlier this year and was so inspired by the Diversity Reboot series. So I feel like I'm like a lot of our viewers today, in that really just signing on to look for some advice and for a great conversation. And I feel like we're going to have that here today. As mentioned in my bio, I work at Axios. And this is a news and technology company that has had such an impact in my life in the short amount of time that I've been there. But we cover topics and trends in the news through podcasts, newsletters, and an Emmy award-winning HBO show. So I'm very, very proud to work at Axios. I'm very proud to share how I got to Axios, because it was a long journey, hence the title of our talk today. My job search was 13 months, over a year, and it was filled with a lot of experiences I'm excited to share today.
Awesome. Yeah, our conversation we had preliminarily to this, I was like, wow, what an amazing testimony to a non-traditional path, which a lot of folks in the audience, I'm sure, are wondering about, right? So let's dive deeper into your work at Axios. I would love to know more about it and your job search journey to land there.
Yeah, I would love to go into the work I do at Axios. I'm on our people operations team, and we're a team that really is two houses, really: talent acquisition and talent management, what we're now calling the employee experience. And so I'm on the employee experience side, and it really is our goal to be sure that all of our employees are having just the best experience ever in their career. And we do that in a lot of different ways. But before I do that, I'd really love to talk about my job search journey into getting here, and how I was really able to take my career history, which is not in HR and it's not in media, and how I landed here. And my family always, every time we're together, will joke, you're in HR in a media company, and you've never worked in either. And so I really kind of bring it back to, yes, that's true, but I do have a lot of experience in creating unforgettable experiences, which is something that you can really transfer no matter where you go, what you do. And that really got started at my last company, where I was really focused on the customer experience in a retail setting. And so really kind of transitioned those learnings, that development, into a learning and development role, which then focused on more so how to provide the best experience for our customers, how our staff can do that, and has really just morphed into this amazing opportunity I have at Axios to work day in with the best team and the best employees that I've really worked with in my career. So
that's awesome. I really like that. That's a great testament. They say no man is an island. So what relying on social in relationships is so important, and it actually shows your energy. Let me ask you this next questions. How can professionals find their passion and align their jobs to, their passion for a fulfilling career?
Oh, such a great question because we all want to do things that we love, but it's easier said than done, right? I think to really know your values and to know your value is super important in finding a job that's going to fulfill you and make you happy at the end of the day, every day. Because, we're still in a pandemic, we're still living in a world where there's a lot going on. You're not going to be fulfilled all day, every day. And I think accepting that is a big piece of it and accepting that it's not going to be like highs all day long is okay. And so, really, I was looking for three things. The journey I was on to discover what are my values, because they change over time, right? As we grow and develop and we expand our network and we learn new things. The big things for me when trying to find a new opportunity that was the best fit, I was looking at three things. One, I was really focused on looking for a leader or a set of leaders or colleagues that could really help me get to the next step in my career, that were super, super smart, um, very experienced in what they were doing and had a really strong point of view and could really help me find my own. The second piece was a company that really embraced diversity, equity, and inclusion, and not just on the surface, really embracing it throughout the entire life cycle. So before you're an employee, you're a candidate. And a lot of the candidate experience you go through can have DEI values in there as well. And we can kind of dive into that a little bit more. But I really did look for that. The companies were not just talking the talk, that they were walking the walk. And the third thing that I was really looking for, which I really learned at my last company, was to be somewhere that's producing a product or producing or selling something that you love. And I once was on another webinar about investing or something because I'm always trying to better myself and learn things. And someone had really great investing advice that I've applied kind of to finding a company to work for. And the advice was if you don't know anything about the stocks you're investing in, don't invest in it. And I just, something in my brain really clicked there. I was like, that makes sense. Like, of course, you're going to have to apply once in a while to something that you might not know a ton about. But at the end of the day, I was really looking for something that I was passionate about, like I was at my last company, which was very retail and fashion based. My background is in political science. I've always been very interested in what's happening in the world and what's happening in the news and in politics. So Axios was really like a dream come true because it was an opportunity to improve people's lives and through creating great experiences as employees and also like constantly looking at Twitter and our newsletters and watching a show of stuff that I was interested in. And it's really just been amazing.
I love what you said about the advice you got, and I hope that the audience can just carry that, if anything, right? And also, in order to know your value, you have to, in order to find your value, you have to know your values. So important. That is definitely amazing advice, and thank you. Job search processes can be stressful, as you said. But tell us a little bit more about your approach to mental health during such pivots, and especially during the pandemic, which you touched briefly on.
Absolutely. I learned really early and was reminded very often the importance of taking care of myself during this process. My first day of my job search was April 1st, 2020, and it lasted till my first day at my new job on May 3rd, 2021. So it was really a solid 13 months and filled with a tons of ups and downs. And I realized really early, I obviously need to take this seriously. I want to find my next great opportunity. But I need to also kind of like step back and almost remove myself from the stress and from the constant like ups and downs and highs and lows and that's kind of what was I felt was very exhausting, was like you'd be riding this high of this really great opportunity. You're so excited about it. And then for whatever reason, it just doesn't work out. And so the constant going back and forth with the background of having, being amidst a pandemic, having a lot going on in the news that was extremely emotional, it was really important to pay attention to those feelings and not suppress them really. I was a big fan of just not pushing them down and really bringing them to the surface, calling them what they are. When someone, in the midst of my job search might have been like, "How are you feeling? How are you doing?" You're just naturally inclined to be like, "I'm great, thanks." Like, "Yeah, I'm doing well." It took me a long time to really be like, in this moment, I'm so stressed. I feel defeated. I feel alone. And just really verbalizing that was almost like a bit of a release and to grieve some of the losses that maybe I had come down or some of, let's just be honest, like the rejection I got throughout the job process. To really grieve that was really, really important. And another thing that I heard recently after my job search that really resonated was Jason Sudeikis was talking about a split he had with, I think, his wife. And he said, like, this is the book of my life right now. But with time, it's going to be the chapter in my life. With more time, it's going to be a paragraph. With more time, it's going to be a line. With more time, it's just going to be a word. And that's kind of the mentality I went in with it is this is going to end. It's advice that I get all the time too from if I'm going through something rough from a very good friend and colleague I have today. It's going to end. And just remembering that is really helpful in getting through the hard parts.
That is so important. And I'm so thankful that you said that people have to go through their emotions. There's psychological studies that say that if you allow yourself to feel, it only takes 90 seconds for the emotions to fluctuate through your body, the most intense part. So thank you for reminding us of such amazing advice. Let's talk about cultural identity. We all celebrate our Latinidad at some point, and then today we are elevating it. From a cultural identity perspective, how inclusive did you feel during your job search process?
I often sign up for a lot of webinars, trainings, things about Latina women who, sometimes it's about equal pay and how we can really know our value and demand what we know we're worth for and things like that. And so I really spend a lot of time trying to educate myself, learn about like what not only the studies are out there about like where our opportunities are as a society to empower and make Latina women feel and express the value that they know that they provide, but it's just ups and downs. And, I identify with a lot of things as well. Like, I identify as a woman of color, I identify as a millennial, as someone who comes from a single parent household. A lot of different things in my identity have really kind of helped shape, what direction I go in and what how I feel, I think.
There's so many layers of complexity, right, to your identity, and we appreciate you celebrating those and embracing them, which is always the most brave and once you accomplish that, is so fearless. So thanks for that. In your opinion, what should companies do differently to bring about a positive change and be more equitable?
Oh, such a great question. And I really feel like to bring positive change, you really need to have voices at the table. Not only at the table, but inclusion anchors DEI work. Once those voices are at the table, hearing them, empowering them, celebrating them, and understanding that the approach that they may have based on their lived experience or just their different set of experience is valuable. And I think people with the power in the room that have that, it's so, so important that you're constantly learning, constantly opening that up, and just really that's how you're going to have a positive change, I think, in any company. And our society in general has gone through a lot in the last year and a half to really embrace that and make such positive strides towards a better future there. And one thing that really stands out, for me, having like an what felt like an unofficial job as like reading through job description after job description after job description is for companies to really strive to write better job descriptions.
Yes.
I can't tell you how many I've read through where it's a whole list of things where I'm like, I can't possibly, like, one person can't possibly do all of these things. So I think it's really, really important for companies to, in their job description, emphasize the culture of the company, highlight the values. These are people that you're trying to get to come work with you, that you're going to want to work with. And you want to remove those non-essential things from the job description. What is at the core of this role that's going to make a person really successful in it? And you don't need the other stuff. You want to focus on what is there, what is going to be essential for the job, and remove bias as much as possible from the hiring process so that everybody has an equal shot. And I really, really feel that strongly because there were so many times when I was interviewing where I was super excited because the company got the job description right. But I noticed throughout the process, there just weren't those other pieces of DEI embedded into the process. Or it was the flip side where the job description needed a lot of work, but I could kind of cut through that and see that. And it was if the job description was right, then other things weren't aligning. So it was really just kind of being very conscious and having a mindset of DEI in every stage of the process to give everyone an equal shot.
I do believe in the infusion aspect of DEI, right? You have to infuse every aspect. That's how you create the inclusion to open the gates of diversity and belonging that will yield to an equitable world, right? It's a formula. It's not just an fun acronym. DEI is really a formula. We're getting a lot of positive feedback for you. We're looking. A lot of people are resonating on what you're saying. You just got a hashtag Poderosa. Thank you so much. We are getting a great positive comment from you that you're a natural and such a great responsive, that all that we want to do is things that we love. And then people that totally agree with having voices at the table. And it's okay to reinvent yourself and set a new path. Something that Mariela learned in her last job search. Thank you so much. It's resonating and it's true. So many of us feel this way, right? And especially with the job description. I think that it has to be human. Just how people expect a human voice resume, there should be, and also on the other side of the mirror, a human voice job description. So thank you so much for those responses. In your opinion, what should we do about opportunities that fall short, such as when the recruiter goes silent? And, how do we know when to weed out or when to nurture, when to listen to those little voices or watch out for those cues, right? Tell us about some actionable tips when it comes to networking for the job search. And also just your overall opinion on this really important topic.
There's a lot there. And I want to start with is trusting yourself. It's so easy just to say that. Trust is such a small word, but packs such a big punch. And my favorite thought leader on trust is Brene Brown. She has what's called the Anatomy of Trust, which is a podcast, but it's also on her website in video form. And I probably listen to that at least once a month because I learn something new from it every time. So let me kind of rewind a bit. In order to feel confident in communicating with a recruiter and really putting yourself out there and taking a risk, you need to trust yourself. And trust can be broken down, but Brene breaks it down with an acronym called BRAVING. So do you have boundaries with yourself? Are you respecting your boundaries? Are you reliable? Are you holding yourself accountable? There's a piece of it called the vault where, when you're communicating with other people, are you holding that information and not spreading it around? One of my favorites is integrity. Do you have integrity in the work that you're doing, the work you're presenting forward, in how you're presenting yourself? Non-judgment is a really big one too. And then generosity. Are you making a generous assumption? Are you assuming positive intent in what you're doing? That acronym has probably single-handedly changed my life. I recommend anyone hop online or check out the podcast and any of Brené's podcasts, but braving is going to help you trust yourself, which is then going to help you feel confident in communicating with recruiters. And one thing I've learned about recruiters is, having worked with the all-star team of recruiters at Axios, is time is very limited. And they are balancing and juggling so many things. You need to make it as easy as possible and pack a punch in the most authentic way you can. And some of the things I would do in the height of my job search is just go onto LinkedIn, go to the company page and search the term recruiter or talent acquisition or hiring or something. And those individuals in the company should show up, and you can make a best estimate as to who to reach out to. Even if it's not the right person, they might be able to direct you in the right direction. And my message was always very simple. And I've shared this with a bunch of people I've networked with since it worked for me. Subject line, your name, the role you're applying for or interested in applying for. The message is super short and sweet. Hi, I'm Liana. I'm applying for the blank role, and I applied through the website on blank, or I applied through LinkedIn on blank. You want to connect those dots so that the recruiter can go immediately and access something. One line about how you're excited about the role. Hope you're having a really wonderful week, and I look forward to hearing from you. You can also attach your materials there if you want to give them a sneak peek, but a lot of times they're working with an applicant tracking system. They probably would direct you to applying the way that they're going to, be feeding and reviewing through those applications. But super short, as authentic as you can be. In my experience, because I won't lie, I have tried the you have found me. I am your next hire. Like, I've definitely had that leave my inbox. But what I found most successful is when you're yourself, when you're honest and authentic, and you're straight to the point. And that's where I feel like was the biggest thing. And also to not to make too many asks off the bat. Kind of just like feel it out, see how it's going, see if they respond. And then, another ask and then another ask. And like until you feel really good about like that your application is going to hit some eyes for the hiring manager.
That is a lot of great advice, and I love it. Authenticity being the number one value, right? To recap, and definitely keep it concise. I mean, I think the recruiters aren't like definitely value conciseness and authenticity. So that's such great advice. Thank you. Jennifer Simpson in the audience says, I bet that companies would get better candidates if they made job descriptions even more clear. That is so true. Well, I love all the advice you're giving us. And then lastly, for everyone tuned in, I'm sure everyone's asking the same question, including me. How can we connect with you and support you in your endeavors?
I'm on LinkedIn. I find a lot of really great content on LinkedIn from thought leaders, from people I've networked with. I welcome you to do that. Um, Axios is hiring. I would also invite you to come work with me and to reach out to me if there's a role. We have 12 departments hiring right now. We're a remote first company, and we have employees in 36 states in the United States. So we are hiring. I would love to have a conversation with you if there's something that's really piqued your interest. One job that's open right now I'd love to highlight is the senior editor for our Axios Latino newsletter. I highly recommend you check it out. I'm always happy to connect on LinkedIn as well too. I mean, this was 30 minutes. I could talk about it for hours. It wasn't just the networking and the webinars and stuff. I did a really amazing job accelerator program through a company called Bossed Up. It's called Hired, and it really helped me build that community that was so supportive through my really long job search. And I'm forever thankful to Bossed Up for having a program like Hired and for helping me find that community of other job seekers who we could work together in our learnings. And and really kind of navigate through what is a really stressful and difficult period in anyone's life who's looking for a job.
Well, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate the time that you took to talk to us. And I really hope that everyone in the audience can follow Liana in her wonderful advice and all the great things that she's doing. If we have any questions at this time, that'd be great.
I'm going to also drop my LinkedIn in the chat. I'm going to drop our careers page. And we also have newsletters that are awesome. The Axios Latino newsletter. I'm going to drop all of that so you can check it out too.
Awesome. Yeah, please do. Great. Well, it's been a pleasure, everyone. Thank you so much. And I'm also going to drop my LinkedIn for anything and all things DEI and talent acquisition and lifting our Latina voices.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you both. I'm so happy that the chat box was on fire for this conversation. So that means I did a great job with inviting you all to participate. And so I'm going to be sounding like a broken record again for this upcoming conversation. But I do want to reflect a little bit since we have a little time to reflect. Liana, wow. Thank you so much for sharing that acronym as well. Was it braving?
Braving.
And can you repeat what it means again?
Yeah, so it stands for, it's really an acronym to break down trust. So if I said, Virginia, we're in a fight, I don't trust you. That's a lot to say to somebody. It means a lot of different things to everybody. Is it that I don't trust you, or is it that you crossed some boundaries with me? Is it that you're not reliable? Is it that I can't, what you're saying doesn't, I'm sorry, when we talk, you're judging me, or you're not making a generous assumption. Those kinds of statements are so much more impactful to really breaking it down and getting through to somebody than just in a flight of emotion being like, I don't trust you. We have a boundaries problem, Virginia. We really need to work through those. That is much easier to digest. We don't have a boundaries issues, Virginia. I love you. Heart's an example.
Thank you.